Good morning. Welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacey. I hope you're doing well today. Today I wanted to spend a little bit more time talking about the Ray Collective and some more information that I've been kind of getting about this group. And I said in one of my last videos when I was talking about them, I was saying that they come from Venus and that they were the first group that seeded this planet. And I ran across, I've been studying like all these different groups. I've been studying these different solar systems. And then I came across this information called the Orion teachings. And they're talking about Vega in there. And it's this woman who's channeled in this being from Vega. And according to, well, and you know, you have a lot of the stuff in the Hindu teachings too, because of the Vegas were in India. But they were also in South America, and they were the ones that seeded Lemuria. And according to these Orion teachings, or this Orion Project is what it's called, is that they were one of they were the founder race that go around and seeded these planets, but they were the ones that also seeded the Lyrans and seeded the Palladians and Sirius. So all of these people came from these original founder group of the Vegas. Well, I was thinking, okay, this sounds a lot like what I was getting with Venus. Vega, Venus. And you know, I've been looking at other things like Venetian, like Venice. And you know, there's a lot of proof that Venice actually is just sunken land, that it was all above land and that it fell. But if you notice the line of Saint Mark, which looks awful lot like the line of Archangel Michael, if you ask me. And so I started looking, and maybe this is why people are so obsessed with the Roman architecture, is because it's Venice and it's Venus and it's Vegas. So I'm trying to figure out if I look up, I just type in a search in and I say, is there a correlation between the Vegas and the planet Venus? And so I get yes. Vega refers to a Soviet space mission, but just listen, keep listening, called the Vega program, which was specifically designed to study Venus. To study Venus? Okay. And why are the Russians so interested in it? Sending probes to both fly by the planet and deploy landers and balloons onto its atmosphere. The name Vega is derived from the first letters of the Russian word for Venus. And Halley, the comet, it also flew by. So I wonder what Halley's comet has to do with Venus. And you know, every so many thousand years, we get Halley's Comet comes by, because we got to see it in this lifetime. So there is a correlation between Vega and Venus. So I'm wondering if these Vega beings were on the planet Venus, or if they stay in the side of the planet Venus, because they left this planet. They left. And from the way I'm understanding from reading this Orion material is that it was thought that there was not any Vegas left, because they had these big wars where they were invaded by the Draconian group and their arch enemies. And this was the interesting thing that I read in there. They were talking, and now this is a trigger warning. If you're overly sensitive, you probably shouldn't be watching this channel, because you have to have an open mind to explore all of these theories that we're talking about. And these are all theories, you know. Nobody knows the truth 110%. Everything is a perspective, right? So, you know, you could have 100 perspectives of the exact same thing, and none of them would not be completely false. It just depends on your perspective. So I think that it's a possibility that these Vega beings are the ones that are living in Venus, because when I was watching the Portal to Ascension, the 1111 program, that week there was a gentleman that was on, it was either the day before or the day after, and he wrote a book, and he was talking about the different races of extraterrestrial and interdimensional beings. And there was one that was, she looked, I think she said that she took a Chinese appearance, or maybe it was Korean. I can't remember exactly. It was an area that she was from Venus, and she was living in an area of Asia, and she enjoyed that appearance so much, she kept it. And she lives inside Venus. And I was like, now that I'm thinking back about that, I'm thinking that's really interesting. So there is a strong correlation between Venus and Vega, and from different sources. And it's important to get different sources. So is this material array? Is this Venus, Vega knowledge? And the other thing is that these were like aquatic looking beings, like the octopus. Now, I have seen some things where I've been years and years ago where they were talking about, they thought that the octopus was an alien, an extraterrestrial, because of the way that it operates. But what if it's like the oldest type being on the planet is octopus? Seriously, something to think about. So yeah, Russia is really interested about studying Venus. So I think that's super interesting. So what is it that the Russians know that we don't know? Because, you know, anytime that they're investing money in something, you got to know there's an alternative reason. And then this is something that's really interesting, because I know there are a few people that watch my channel that are very much into cryptids. And one of the things that I read that I thought was really interesting was they were the ones that seeded the ape being, the what do you want to call it? An extraterrestrial being that's like an ape. And I think that they originally come from Pleiades. And then these beings, maybe some of them have been genetically, the morphinogenic field has genetically modified them. And because there was some, as they said, that they were abandoned by their Lyrian brothers and sisters and their Palladian brothers and sisters, because they wanted to go and have their own experiences and be seeders. You know, star seeds, when they say star seeds, that means that they go and they seed other planets and star systems. That's what they mean by a star seed. They go and they set up human life and biological life and everything. They set the whole thing up. So they were talking about how that they seeded a lot of these groups, and they don't reproduce like other beings do. So they didn't get caught up in a lot of this stuff like some of these other places did, because there was no reproduction involved. You know, you take away the torturous aspect of the sex, you know, forceful, and, you know, as a way to harvest energy from light beings that are, when you have these more nefarious type, self-serving agendas that are in domination. You know, they're in a domination type social complex, and they didn't get caught up in that interbreeding, but the races that they founded, they did. So the question is this why some people report different types of Sasquatch, or as they're called, Cuvelentier, Quevelentier, I think is how it's spelled, because some people report that these Sasquatches have black eyes or blue eyes, and some say they have red eyes. So there's differences. And some also say that there's the ones that have blue eyes, they don't smell like the ones that have red eyes. And maybe the red-eyed ones they're more into a self-serving type mentality, or a darker agenda. And this is why they have that foul odor, because they maybe they use like maybe they have some kind of like anal glands or something like that's, I mean, let's just be real, because dogs do, cats do, all animals have anal glands. So maybe they excrete theirs as a defense mechanism, because the way I understand it smells really bad, and anal glands are really bad. So I think that that you've got several different types. That you might have these ones that have the blue eyes that are kind. You know, I've seen accounts where this one man said that he seen a Sasquatch that had blue eyes, and that it was holding out its hands like this. And you know, I have read that that is a communication, an energy exchange when you come into contact with these higher evolved, or maybe they are Vega Sasquatches, that they'll hold out their hands because they want you to hold your hands up, because they want to give you a message. This is energy exchange, and they want to let you know that they're okay, because they work on a higher dimensional mentality than we do. They're on 4D, so they have a little more access to different things than we do. And I think that some of them, the nefarious ones, I think that they've been hybridized, and that maybe the red eyes mean that they're like some type of drone, and this is what the aggression comes from. And maybe they're here as you know, like undercovers, or like there's the CIA of some other solar system that's coming here to collect intel. I mean, it's possible. They're pretty stealthy. But then you have these ones that are higher vibration that might be from the Vegas, because the way I understand it is that when the time is right, they can come back out, the ones that are left, you know, because of a lot of these beings got wiped out in these violent wars of domination. And it's great, because the more that, you know, that we make it a reality, that, you know, we're turning inward and doing the work. We're bringing all our parts together. We're raising the vibration of the planet. We're putting our focus back on the planet itself, Mother itself, and healing the planet, because we've got to heal the planet, because she needs healing. She needs healing. She's, you know, people have been asleep for a long time, but we're all waking up, and we're waking up to this new reality that it's all about love and nurturing the planet, coming back into our communities and caring about each other. So anyway, with that, I just, you know, I had a little bit more that I wanted to share, because maybe it is Vega. Maybe it's Vega. Maybe Vega is Venus and Venice and some of these other places, like Vegas, like Las Vegas. What about Venezuela? You know, Venezuela, it's named Venezuela because it was considered a mini Venice when some explorers went there many hundreds of years ago. They went there and they saw Venezuela, and they said that the buildings there reminded them just of Venice, Italy. So, you know, that does corroborate the fact that these people from Venus went to South America. So maybe there were a portion of them that were in Atlantis. They had, you know, because when they said this Orion material, this Orion Project materials, and a lot of the links don't work, but some of them can, and you can read a bunch of it. And maybe it's because people were, you know, when you have theories and stuff, or you get information and stuff, and it's not the most popular opinion, you know, sometimes the truth can be inconvenient. Sometimes, you know, people don't like the truth or the perspective. It may not even be the truth. It may just be a perspective to take us to another step into waking up. You know, maybe we need to go through all these steps so we can wake up. The more that we learn, the more that we wake up to, the more that we get downloaded, the more that we recognize, the more that we see. So, you know, maybe it's just all of us awakening into the fact that these groups go way further back. I think that these beautiful buildings that are in China, in Indonesia, in India, and all of these that have, I mean, just this most intricate, unbelievable architecture. Oh, and the other thing is that these Vega people, they symbolize the elephant. This elephant being, this is one of the first animals that represented by them on this planet is the elephant. And that's interesting because, you know, elephants have a long memory and they are extremely spiritual, you know. So, and the bond that they have with their family, I mean, they have a deep bond, elephants, especially mothers. It's sad. But, you know, there's layers of trauma of abandonment that are with these star seeds that come from Vega. You know, there were wars. So, you know, you had these Orion wars. And I think that this one of these trauma overlays that we have is from this whole thing that happened. And then, you know, Lemuria, they were, the way that it says in this Orion material is that Lemuria was actually destroyed by the Vegas, because they had technology. They had some technology, and it was supposed to be used for food and for making sure that they had pure, clean water, because these Venus, Vega beings are very big on fruit. And I guess this is where you get, like, you know, they don't harm animals. So, you know, they love animals and nature because they're very peaceful people. So a lot like, you know, your Hindus of today with animals and their diet. But they used the technology to harm the women and children of Lemuria, is what I read. And that they were annihilated by the Vegans because they became sour. But I do remember reading in the Ashiana Gene teachings, and somewhere else, maybe it was Melchizedek. He said that Atlantis was actually divided into a four quadrant, and that they set up a grid there, which is interesting because Venezuela, there's an island that's right by Venezuela, that's right near Venezuela, but they have that gridded out the exact same way that Atlantis was, because I was looking at correlations between Venice, Italy, and Venezuela. And you know, you have a lot of similar architecture, but the one thing was that island that is right off of Venezuela was divided into exactly the same four quadrants that Atlantis was. When the Lemurians went there, you had the Lemurians, you had the Anunnaki, you had a couple different groups. You had the Anunnaki, and anyway, you had it divided into four quadrants, and they were building the beginnings of a Cathara grid. Like, they all brought different types of energy to this quadrant, or this four-way, this, you know, this, it's just like a cross, basically like a cross. And then we had these four quadrants in there of energy, and it was like a grid. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is that this Orion material also talks about the fact that the Jewish, the blonde-haired, curly-haired, blonde, curly-haired, blue and green-eyed people are the ones that were seeded by Vega. Now, I did read in the Melchizedek teachings, the Drumbalo Melchizedek teachings. He did say something to that effect. He did say something to the fact that the Hebrews were in that third quadrant that was in Atlantis. You had Lemurians, you had the Hebrews, which they came from Vega. They were seeded by Vega, Venus. You had the Anunnaki, and that they were all, and you know, your Atlantean civilization, that island there, they were all living in harmony. And it was, he said it was when the Martian people showed up, and that would have been the planet Marduk, I'm guessing, because Marduk, they used atomic weaponry. They blew up their own place. And then, you know, after their collective was kind of like, when you use atomic weapons, you can split an atom. So souls get really locked up in loops. So these higher dimensional beings have to go in, they have to straighten this out. This is just like when you drop an atomic bomb, you know, like the mushroom bomb that was dropped on Japan, you know, when you have these bombs, that you're dropping, or Vietnam, excuse me. When you drop these atomic bombs, the way that I understood it is that it can separate the soul out. It can fragment the soul out and layers of trauma, and that it disorients it in a way. And so they have to be helped. So the way that I understood, the way that I understand it is that these people that got blown up on the planet Marduk, that they actually came through here because the earth is like, everybody has a chance to, you know, learn. And some people here come here because, you know, they've got things that they've got to work out, distortions that they've got to get worked out. And this is a great place to do it because, you know, your memory gets wiped so you can disassociate from the trauma. And, you know, you can have a learning experience, and you can encounter love, because we work with the heart and the solar plexus on the planet. So we had these Martians that were here, and I guess that that was what set off the balance, was when these people came from these Martian people. So I'm guessing that they must have been this Marduk collective, because you had the Anunnaki that were here, and that was that Anu group, and then you had Marduk, and they all had their own race lines because they were all doing genetic seeding experiments here. So, and then what ended up happening was you ended up getting more distortions. So you got more distortions, but they talk about the Hebrew people, and then they talk about, you know, things that happened to these Jewish people down in time, you know, with the with the travesties that they've suffered, because they've been singled out because of their genetic template. They've been singled out because of their genetic template. They have the sacred enzymes. They have the sacred enzymes. This is all coming together. See, they told me in the beginning to name my channel Sacred Enzyme, and that I would start learning about what they were talking about, that it would just start coming, kind of like rolling a roll of toilet paper, I guess, till you get to the roll, or eating a Tootsie Roll Pop. I guess it's kind of like that in the end, that I would figure out eventually, you know, my eyes would open, I'd be like, oh, this is what you're talking about, sacred enzymes. Now I get it. It's about these sacred enzymes of these people. So I have this thing up here, and I want to read what this lady says here. The Vega are an ancient extraterrestrial species who are the original ancestors of many other species throughout outer space. The Vega genetically created, which is also called star seeding, the Lyran, Sirian, and Palladian species. Lyrans, Palladians, and Vegas also have also starseed earlier hominid primates, and so they were part in creating the modern humans as well. So there you go. That sounds to me like they're talking about that they seeded the hominid primates, upright walking primates. So all of these came from the Vegas. So then we had genetic manipulation. So, you know, these beings around on our planet, that they're Sasquatch or all Yeti or skunk ape or all of these all were Vega beings. And, you know, they do show in ancient Hindu mythology and records where they have these little monkey beings. These were the Vegas. And, you know, maybe this is what Planet of the Apes is actually based on, because you know as well as I do that everything shows up in movies. There's truth in everything. It spoon feeds you. Okay, so it says the symbol to the, he's talking about a symbol of a Martian salamander or serpent god Anu. So the Martians were like the salamanders, and the serpent god is Anu. So this is Anunnakis are serpents, and the Martians are salamanders. So are they lizards? The Martians, are they lizards? Are they reptilian? I mean, this is a question I'm starting to wonder. I mean, these people have been around for billions of years. So they're like they're just like universe travelers. They've been everywhere. But there was one other thing that I wanted to read in here, that she talks about the genetics of the Hebrew people. I thought it was fascinating. Okay, where is it? So he's okay, here we go. Sorry guys, I have to get to it, and it's got a lot of pictures on here. I wish I could see them, but they won't load. Okay, so now it's talking about the Vegas are the ones that gave advanced technology to humanity originally with the Lemurians. And so maybe some of that was passed on. But they had a group of kings that they called Blue Kings, I think is what they called them. And they were very peaceful. They exuded tremendous amounts of love, joy, and happiness. Okay, so here we go. We're talking about the wars. They call them the Dark Lords. They call them the Alpha Theton Dark Lords. They've been against Vega since the beginning because they're the polarity aspect of Vega. And so anyway, it talks about Lemuria. Millions of years ago, the Vegas created the people of Lemuria who lived on a continent in the ocean on Earth. Vegas created cities for them, and the Lemurians had been given the advanced technology of the Vegas, which the Lemurians were meant to use to power their devices such as vehicles. So they had 0-point energy. Okay? This is when we had a planetary grid. So the Vegas are the ones that built the beautiful, exceptional, beautiful architecture. So this is our first civilization. Okay, and then it says they were supposed to use them to power the devices such as vehicles and for making clear water. Lemurians used Vega weapons against Lemurian women and children, and so the Vegas made the decision to destroy the Lemurians and the Lemurian continent and to take the weapons away. Okay, and then it talks about that they have that grains came from the Pleiades, grains, and that if you want to be very much in tune to make contact with these Vega beings, is that not to eat meat. Not to eat meat. Isn't that funny? That that they eat a diet predominantly in fruit. They don't eat any grains. No sweets or anything like that. Just, you know, fruits. And that they say that if you want to contact them, to go on like a fruit fast for 2 or 3 days just to eat fruit and no grains, because the grains in your diet, I guess it has a frequency that connects with Pleiades. And if you eat a lot of fruit, I'm guessing that connects you with the Vegas, because they were the ones that brought fruit to the planet. And so this, I was hoping that, well, you know what, I lost the page, but he was talking about the genetics. She was talking about the genetics of the Hebrew people, and that there was something about their blood, and so basically in their genetic race that traces back to the Vegas, and it's coveted by this group, these darker groups. So yeah, these Jewish people do, these ancient Hebrew people, these Proto-Celtic Hebrews, the Iberians, I feel like they were in Iberia. I think that they were the original Tartarians, because, you know, Tartaria used to be where you have modern day Asia now, China. That area in Southeast Asia, that area down there was where Tartaria was, but we had a pole shift. And the way I understand it is that when you have these groups that come in that carry a super low frequency, like this Eva Draconis group, that when they come in, and this is why we're restricted from letting these groups come in now, is because it changes the frequency of the planet. It can cause a pole shift. So this is when you had a pole shift. So they come in and turn the whole thing upside down, basically. And, I mean, literally, turn it upside down. So Tartaria ended up in Russia, because originally it was next to Poland and it was down in Southeast Asia. But when you had a pole shift, it went all the way back up. So this is how you have Tartaria being all over the place. And you know, it's the Tartarian culture, I think, was these people from Venus. And also, you know, this is where you get Venice and Venezuela. So anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. Been 30 minutes. Don't forget that wheel in the top right corner that you can speed it up, because everything's on the fly here. But I wanted to share that little bit of information about Venus and how it's related to Vega. And I want to hear what you guys think. And you know, if you guys have any experiences that you want to share that I can read on here and share stuff with everybody that comes to this channel. You know, if you've had situations that you've experienced in your life and things that you've seen that corroborate the research that we're doing here, you know, about, you know, our past, where we come from. And, you know, I know that we all get visits in our dreams, and some of us are tuned in where we're astral traveling and we're having visits from these interdimensional beings that are from these other places. And they give us downloads and information. You know, if you want to share that, I would love to share that, you know, and have discussions about this stuff, because we all are the proof. We are the proof, and it's in our own minds and our souls, you know. We know it's in our genes, it's in our genetics. We've been all over this solar system. And, you know, we're waking up because we're going into a beautiful time. I think that the bird beings are back, you know, and maybe it's just more of the bird beings, you know, maybe they're the bird beings and the elephant beings and the, you know, maybe these are all Vegas, you know, and the early Lemurians were Vegas. And maybe this is where we get this hippopotamus worship, because, you know, you got the hippocampus in the brain, and the hippopotamus is one of these first aquatic beings. So, you know, maybe this is Lemurian, Atlantis, Vegan culture combined. Mother worship, divine mother is definitely Venus for sure. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you say. When you come and find me, I'll be here. We're in the past, present, and the future, all at the same time. And my email address is in my bio on the YouTube channel. If you guys want to submit anything to me, send anything in to me in an email, it's hstacy90@gmail.com. And I thank you for spending your 32 precious minutes with me this morning. And I'd love to have some input from you guys on this, because, you know, I don't think this is a very popular opinion. Nobody really talking about this. And I've been looking and digging, but, you know, I have to go with my gut. I have to go with what my gut is telling me, and what, I don't know, what I'm getting told to me. And, you know, I have to go with my truth. And I truly feel that this is what it is. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. So thanks for watching Sacred Insight. And I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day. Stay warm. Bye-bye.